The following few ECG tracing was taken with a 15 leads ECG. To prove the posterior and the right ventricle MI, they are applying a V8, V9 for the dorsal lead and V4R. The following tracings is not 12 leads, it's recorded in a 15 leads ECG settings. It's meaning that in addition to the 12 leads, we do have an extra dorsal leads, V8 and V9, and we do have a right ventricle leads. This is a V4R that is exactly on the right side where the V4 on the left side. So this can help us to monitor or diagnose a right ventricular MI, and the V8, V9 is good for proving the posterior MI and distinguish from the angina in the anterior angina subacute or the subendocardial lesion. Let's see. First of all, we do have rhythmicity. Uh, I cannot see any P wave. The heart rate is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, so 75. There is no P wave. I cannot see any. However, the QRS is narrow, so it has to be a junctional escape rhythm or junctional acceleration, because this is faster than a junctional rate, the on rate. Immediately you can see in lead number 2, 3, and AVF the pathological Q wave and ST elevation. In addition, we do see in V1, V2, V3 a ST depression, horizontal ST depression. That can be the mirror image of the posterior MI. This is proved by V8, V9, where we do have the Q and the ST elevation, showing the typical sign of acute MI. And in V4, we do have a sign of a right ventricle MI. Usually, we have to be suspicious about the right ventricle MI when the ST elevation in lead number 3 is the biggest one after AVF and the smallest one in lead number 2. In this case, it's worthwhile to put up on the right side the V4R. The next one, again, this looks like rhythmic. The heart rate is around 1, 2, 3, a little bit less than 100, around 90. We do have P waves. This is the noise over the P's, so it's not an atrial fibrillation, it's only a noise. The P wave is normal, PR interval is normal, the width of the QRS is normal, the axis is normal. The axis is about 60 degrees because AVL is epiphasic one. Looking at the pathological condition, we do see ST elevation, this dome-shaped ST elevation, again in lead number 2, 3, and AVF. So 3 is the biggest one. However, you do see again V3, V4, V1, V2, V3, VST depression, putting up the posterior leads. The V8, V9 is not confirming any kind of posterior involvement, and there's nothing on the right side. So this is only a hyperacute inferior MI, and possibly we do have a subendocardial lesion or anginic pain in the anterior leads. Next one is rhythmic. The heart rate is slower than normal. If you count, this can be around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a little bit less than 5, so around 55. By looking at the P waves, I barely see any P wave. Looking at with the, let's see, first the axis, and after we can go back to another lead. Narrow, lead number 3 is negative, AVF is positive, and so this should be around 30 or less than 30, between 0 and 30 degrees. So I can go for the 15, for example, degrees. Now looking at the P wave, if the P wave should be seen in lead number 2 or in V1, and I can see only, for example, here in V3, and it looks like there's a sinus because that's rhythmic. So that's a sinus bradycardia. We do see ST elevation in 2, 3, and AVF, ST depression V1, V2, V3, and we do see elevation in V8, V9, confirming that that's an infero-posterior acute MI. If you do see the R wave in V2, V3, there's a very pronounced R wave representing a pathological Q wave on the back. And the next, we do see rhythmic heartbeats. The rate is around 1, 2, 3, 4, 75. We do see P wave, about the same normal. PR interval is normal. Width of the QRS is wide. The axis is around 1 positive. AVF is actually about 0. Uh, because QRS is wide, looking at the right side and the left side. On the right side, you can see RSR complex in V1, and on the left side, in lead number 2, for example, you can see a wide S wave representing a complete right bundle branch block. Axis is normal, so there's only a right bundle branch block with a secondary STT changes that can be seen where we do have the big R waves in V1, mainly in V1. All right. There is no MI at all. You don't see any Q wave and ST elevation. Next one, again, is rhythmic. Heart rate is around 1, 2, 3, 4, almost 5, so it's 65. P wave, yes, we do have P wave. Now, if you're looking at the P wave, they're a little bit wider and nudged. So that can represent a left atrial hypertrophy. By looking at the ST segment or the QRS complex. Uh, the axis, as I say, let's see, 1, 2, 3, AVL a little bit negative, so 1 and AVF is positive. This is about 60 or a little bit less than 60, around 70, the axis. We do see ST elevation in 2, 3, and AVF, ST depression V1, V2, V3. By looking at the posterior leads V8 and V9, we do have ST elevation confirming a posterior MI. There is no right ventricle MI, so that's a infero-posterior hyperacute MI. In the next one, you can say that this is rhythmic again. The heart rate is around 1, 2, and 3, around 100. Sinus, PR normal, P is normal. The axis, the QRS is narrow. The axis around 1 positive, AVF positive is normal. Lead number 3 is still positive, so this is over 30. So this can be a 40 or 50. All right, the pathological conditions that we can look at. There is nothing in the limb leads. I cannot see anything. In the chest leads, again, I see nothing. That can be completely normal. And there is no posterior, only maybe a little bit taller T wave, but it's not as high as it should be in hyperkalemia. So that can be a normal sinus rhythm.